You'll want them whatever version they come in. So we'll do, and some of these songs we won't do on an album because nobody wants to buy an album with these kinds of songs on it. But, you know, musicians, we, you know, as esoteric as we wish we were, we also like to eat and stuff, so we try to sell albums. But that's the work end of it. The fun end of it is just doing music, and it's also nice to do music when other people listen, because when you listen to it to yourself all the time, you know, it gets a little stale. So it's kind of fun to have a few extra people. Now, you know, if y'all can move up a little bit more. Uncle Rich. You don't want to sit too close because I spit when I sing. But especially you guys can just like really squeeze in here because there's still people coming in. I do like an aisle back there. Yeah, leave an aisle so they can get back there to buy those right. That's right. So, okay, this first song was kind of inspired by a number of things. People always ask you, you know what? Well, I always hate to say inspired because, you know, people will talk about how the scriptures are inspired, and then they talk about how songs are inspired, and then everyone always wants to look at these songs that the Lord gave them, and I always think, you know what? You're not that lucky. If I was the Lord and I wrote a song that bad, I would want to give it away too. And, I don't generally believe that God gives us songs. I think that I don't think music is inspired in the same sense that the scriptures are inspired. I think that the scriptures are the very breath of God, and that they're authoritative, that for all people at all times the scriptures are true. I think that songs are more like provoked than inspired. And that whatever you say in a song hopefully is very honest about your own experience of God, but it's not authoritative, it's not divinely inspired in the sense that the scriptures are. And if I thought it was divinely inspired, then I would not take it to my publishers, I would take it to the American Bible Society and have them canonize it. And then it would be binding like Jeremiah is binding. But, so this song, you know, and lots of things go into provoking a song. And like we were, when, you know, like everyone was real upset about The Last Temptation of Christ, which I guess was an upsetting movie. I never saw it really myself. But the thing that concerned me was that people were disgusted because the movie portrayed Christ as being a man. And my understanding is that that's the good news, is that God really did become a man, that that's the essence of what Christianity is all about. And if the movie failed, the failing in the movie was that it forgot to portray Christ also as being divine. And so, you know, we're talking about what it would be like to be God and to be a man, and then thinking about, well, what would it be like to be God and be a baby, you know, and, or to be a kid. Did Jesus ever knock a window out with a baseball and have to tell the guy that he did it? Or did he ever get kicked out of class for talking out of turn? You know, what would it be like to be Mary and change God's diaper? It's just kind of a mind-boggling thing. And Beaker was, a lot of times sounds themselves provoke things. And you know how Mozart has a reputation for having real childlike kind of music. His music sounds like very, very much like a little kid wrote it, only it's a little hard for kids to play. And one of the things that Mozart uses a lot in his music are major thirds. He really had a fondness for thirds. And thirds tend to be a kind of, a third, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of hard to describe, except that it's a certain musical interval. It's you know, two notes apart. Keep talking. See, if it ain't a train, it's you. Anyway, so Beaker was learning how to play the lap dulcimer, and if you want to write music, a good way to do it is to get an instrument that you know absolutely nothing about. And the first thing that you're able to play on the instrument, write a song around that little thing, because it will be different. What you can play on a lap dulcimer is way different than, say, what you can play on a saxophone. So each sound has its own kind of character. And he's just playing around with this thing, and all of a sudden came up with this little melody that sounded to me to be very childlike. Only afterwards did I realize this, you know, that it progresses in thirds, and so That's one possible explanation. So then we just started. Would you please? So then we just started fooling around with it and ended up writing this song. Boy, what a long explanation. It's probably a geeky song. So I hope you like the explanation because the song may sting. He was a baby like I was once. He was crying in the early morning. He was born in a stable lord. Wheaton Memorial is where I was born. They wrapped you in swaddling clothes. For me, they dressed in baby blue. Well, I was 12 years old in the meeting house. I was listening to the old men pray. And I was trying hard to figure out what it was that they was trying to say. There you were in the temple. You said you weren't old enough to know the things you knew. Grow up fast. The little girls giggle when you walk past. Did you wonder what it was that made them laugh? And did they tell you stories about the saints of old? Stories about their faith? They say stories like that make a boy grow bold. Stories like that make a man walk straight. And you was a boy like I was once. But was you a boy like me? I grew up around Indiana. You grew up around Galilee. If I ever really do grow up, but I want to grow up and be just like you. Well, did you wrestle with the dog and lick his nose? Did you play beneath the spray of a water hose? Did you ever make angels in the winter snow? Did they tell you stories about the saints of old? Stories about their faith. They say stories like that make a boy grow bold. Stories like that make a man walk straight. And this is where you'll hear a fabulous guitar solo that I can't play. So you just have to use your imagination. Unless you buy the record. Did you ever get scared playing hide and seek? Did you try not to cry when you scraped your knee? Did you ever skip a rock across a quiet creek? And did they tell you stories about the saints of old? Stories about their faith? They say stories like that make a boy grow bold. Stories like that make a man walk straight. Yeah, we won't be doing these till next year. But you guys heard it. Oh, you. Okay. Just so you can. Are you guys familiar with hammer dulcimers?
Yeah. Well, not like I don't know, but I've seen him playing before. So.
Oh yeah. So you've heard this all. You heard the next part. You can go get a drink. Same old boring spiel. No, it'll be nice because we're not going to do any more. Tonight's the last night of the tour. We're so excited. And
2 shows.
So, 2 shows, right? So I get a whole year to think of new things to say about the same old boring subjects. Do you guys know Beaker, speaking of boring subjects? This is a fellow friar in the Kid Brothers of St. Frank, and his name is Beaker, and he is kind of a guitar player, left dulcimer player, and we wrote those songs together. We've been doing a lot of writing together. Sometimes it's fun to write with other people.
That again?
Yeah, sometimes the only other people around is Beaker. So, but this is the way one thing sounded before it was in the studio. So this is the real version, I guess.
Uncut.
Things aren't quite in tune here either, but this is true tune. So what do you expect?
People can go stand back behind that thing.
More people want to go back here. We probably didn't get to Because you only played at 1,200 seats.
Oh, is it only 1,200 seats?
We make a path, then everybody else, I guess, can head back that way. At least on the inside.
Keep pushing in.
Keep moving in, guys. All the way towards the back.
Okay, we'll play just a couple Hammer Dulcimer songs that we're not planning on putting on an album, just because since they won't be on an album, you'll never get to hear them unless we play them today, right? See, I have these nieces, and you know how everyone always talks about how having kids changes your point of view about things, and so I'm not planning on having kids or anything. So I have to settle for having nephews and nieces. Nephews aren't nearly as inspiring as nieces because, I don't know, you just figure you turned out okay, they probably can too. But girls, you know, you have to worry about girls a lot. Because you're a boy. And anyway, so I was thinking about, you know, someday they'd probably be old enough to date. And just thinking about how boring it is to be a teenager, you know, and so, you know, people when you're young, you'll do anything for excitement, and I just think that as life progresses, I mean, as history progresses, people just keep finding duller and duller ways to excite themselves, and then I was thinking about The Sound of Music, and okay, have you all seen the movie The Sound of Music?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Maria the Nun and Captain Von Trapp fell in love, what was the very first thing they did when they knew that it was bigger than both of them? And thank you for playing. What was the very first thing they did?
Kiss.
No. They danced. And so, you know, we're not Baptists or anything, so we're allowed to do that. And
Not a week college.
Not a wing college.
But I was thinking that, you know, maybe the more kids dance, you know, the less they would park and stuff. And so, do people park in Chicago? Is that what you do?
Don't leave your car.
Yeah, out in the country where I live, when you got really bored on a date, you just drive out to the most secluded spot you can find and you park your car and, you know, talk and stuff. So what I was thinking was, wouldn't it be good if there was like some alternative to that? Because I think a lot of people just don't know that there are other things you can do. And so I was thinking, yeah, but, you know, maybe they could dance or something. Then I was thinking about like dances that a lot of people do, and I was thinking, you know, they'd be better off to be parking because at least the parking is discreet, and a lot of the dances are very similar to. Only it's a little more brazen, and at least be embarrassed about it, if nothing else. So then I was thinking, you know, that specifically waltzing is a very nice way to dance. It's very respectful, and it's really very beautiful, and as long as you're messing up a lot, it's a lot of fun. And because you can laugh at each other, and so I decided to write a little waltz for my nieces so that if they ever got a boyfriend or something, and you know their boyfriend is like, "Wow, I really love you," and we're really bored, they could say, "Yeah, let's dance." You know, so maybe it'd be romantic or something. Maybe we'd get a little romance somewhere. parents, my dad grew up in, back and forth between Kentucky and Virginia because my grandpa was a coal miner. And when my dad was 14, my grandpa came home and told my grandma to load up the truck because they were going to move, you know. And so my grandma loaded up the truck to move, and when they took off, they were going the wrong way. And she just assumed they were going back to Virginia, and they were headed somewhere else. And so my grandma said, well, John, where in the world are we going? And my grandpa said, well, Rose, we're going to Detroit. And she said, why in the world are we going to Detroit? And he said, because I don't want my boys to grow up to be coal miners. And so they got as far as Richmond, Indiana, and ran out of gas. And that's how I got here. And in fact, I think most of Indiana is populated with hillbillies that were on their way to Detroit to get which means the only difference between Indiana people and Detroit people is we're hillbillies that ran out of gas, and they're hillbillies that still have gas. But being hillbilly is kind of a nice thing, I think, because I don't know, a lot of people who lived down there were Irish, which I think is a nice thing to be, because I think God really had meant for the Irish to be His chosen people, but Abraham tricked them out of it, you know. And so this is just kind of a hillbilly song that I wrote. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me find those notes. 1, 2, ready, go.
Rich, didn't you do that on light music, in your light music video?
Oh, we may have.
Yeah, I think you did.
I tried to forget that we did that. I never know what we're going to do, and sometimes I'm so embarrassed when I find out. I did that in front of people.
I thought it was good.
Oh, well, thanks. Okay. Okay, well, I live in Kansas now, so, you know, I think that you can live just about anywhere except in the South and learn to like it. Really apply yourself. And, you know, Kansas is not ordinarily a place that you think of as, you know, like being a... Yeah, well, a vacation land or something like that. You know, most people don't, you know, nobody dreads going through Colorado on their way to Kansas, I guess, the way you think of that. But there's kind of a plains kind of thing, you know. I think the first time I experienced it was hitchhiking, and I was out on the high plains, and there's no traffic out there because no one lives there. And so I don't know where there are roads. So I'm standing out there next to the highway, and looked around, and I felt so conspicuous because I thought the only bump on this landscape is me. And I just felt like I wanted to dig a little hole and crawl inside it and hide for a while because, you know, you just felt like there was no place to hide. And then the other sensation that I had simultaneously was just, you could see so far, you could see for miles and miles and miles. It's not like here because there aren't any trees out there either. And just grasses, just growing all around you. You know, I felt so tiny. I thought, man, the world is so big. And if I did dig a hole and disappear, it wouldn't make any difference because we're awfully small. And we live for a very short time, and the world got along very well without us for an awful long time. And when we're gone, it won't make no difference that we were ever here. And at first that was a little alarming to me, and then after a while it began to feel kind of good because I thought, you know what, if that's how insignificant we are, then it's not so bad when we make mistakes. And we all make a lot of them. So thank God that it's a big world and you ain't very big. It kind of relieves you a little of the pressure of always having to look perfect. And there's a lot for people to look at besides you. And most of them are not looking at you even or anything else. They're looking at themselves. They're worried about their own complexions. And so the plains are kind of a very humbling place to be, I think. I wonder where these strings went. So I wrote a song about it, and Beaker and I have written a song about it. I'm working on another song that I want to put on the album, but I want it to sound like a hymn. I want it to sound like a congregation singing. Just because the Flint Hills, if you ever go to Kansas, go to the Flint Hills because they're really beautiful. You'll find them between Kansas City and Wichita. And in the spring, they're this really amazing color of green. And I was just one time thinking about how beautiful a color of green it was, how much it must look like Ireland. I really think that all that's going to happen at the end of the world is the whole world is going to blow up except for Ireland. Safe people will go there. But so it's just thinking about green, and let's see. I really don't even have that lyric really finished, but I was thinking something on the lines of look down on this winter wheat and be glad that you have made blue for the sky and the color green that fills these fields with praise. So think about that. If you hear it on the album, you'll know that I finished it. If you don't hear it, you'll know that my publishers didn't like it.
Couldn't see through.
Is it really hot in here? Oh, good. I thought I was hallucinating.
Nobody breathe.
Okay, this song we just finished, and we may not even remember how it goes exactly, but we'll try it out. Let's see what that. Wind don't blow where you wanted to go. Wind just goes this is probably my favorite song that we've written lately. And it's just a song about, sort of about the prodigal son. And sort of one of those things where, you know, you read the Bible and you read those stories in there, and all of a sudden you feel like you're not reading about somebody else, you feel like you're reading a little bit about yourself. You kind of identify suddenly with what those people went through, and I think one of the hardest things in the Christian life is and especially for people who have grown up in America, is I think we're very arrogant people, and I think it's very hard to just to allow God to break us. I think it's very hard to be broken, and I think that who the Lord loves, He chastens, and that if we won't be broken, we'll never be saved. And that God doesn't break us because He hates us or because He's angry at us, but we have to be broken, just like you have to break a horse. And so God's mercy in this song, I know a lot of people have said, well, why do you say the reckless raging fury that they call the love of God? And all I can ever answer is, if you've ever known the love of God, you know it's nothing but reckless, and it's nothing but raging. And it's sometimes it hurts to be loved, and if it doesn't hurt, it's probably not love. And maybe infatuation. I think a lot of American people are infatuated with God, but they don't really love Him, and they don't really let Him love them. And being loved by God is, while it's one of the most painful things in the world, it's also the only thing that can bring us salvation. And it's like everything else that is really wonderful. There's a little bit of pain in it. There's a little bit of an ache, a little bit of hurt. So that's kind of what this is about. We'll do this, and then we'll just kind of hang out for a while, because it's too hot to play anymore. We keep getting slower and slower just because we're starting to warp. I thought the things were going to warp after they got in CDs, but players still do, I guess. How does it start?
There's a wideness in God's mercy.
Oh, no, this is a new one. This is, that's not. Oh, yeah. I've gone so far from my home, seen the world and I have known so many secrets